Dude, it's afternoon.
Good morning.
We both just woke up.
Yeah. Right before you got here, I told Video, I was like, dude, I'm going to take a nap until he gets here.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm still a little tired.
Bruh. How late were you up last night?
I wasn't up late, but I just had a lot going on early in the morning. Like, I had to be up at 5 again. And then I went to the gym at 9:30. And then I was going to take a nap before you guys got here. But then my brother hit me up and asked me if I wanted to go to ramen. So I couldn't pass up that opportunity. Dude,
Right.
Once in a lifetime.
Exactly. Ramen is beautiful.
What about you?
I was up till 5, playing video games with Cassie.
Zelda?
We played Zelda. Okay, listen. We played Zelda. I have like the attention span of a goldfish, right? So like when in Zelda is a game that where if you have the attention span of a goldfish, that's fine because you don't need to do any side missions before you can go ahead and fight Ganondorf. You have to do a couple, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, you can just run up, be like, "Hey, where the fuck is Ganondorf?"
Kind of like the first game.
Yeah. So this game, right? Cassie's like, "Let's do all the side missions." We didn't even finish Breath of the Wild, but she's like, "Let's do all the side missions."
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. So we're now at the point where we have like almost all the side missions completed. We have almost all the armor sets. We're almost done upgrading all of the armor sets. But like, here's my thing. I was cool with that up until probably a week ago. And then I was just like, this is so much work. And so now I just glitch the game so I can get things.
Yeah.
Like they have a duplication glitch. And I just duplicate everything, so I'm just like, cool.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever you need, babe. We got all the mats you could ever need. Go ahead and run around.
You always wonder, dude, like, how do speedrunners, like, just fucking... Like, people have done, especially on the old one, Breath of the Wild, like 100% speedruns. They literally are spending, like, 40 hours just fucking powering through. You're just
right.
like, what in the fuck?
Dude, I know. I don't know how they do it. I really don't. I'm like I'm at the point now, so like I killed a Silvermane Lionel once.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, perfect. I got both its horns. And I was like, dope. I went to the duplication spot, made fucking 30 of each.
Yeah.
And you can fuse weapons in this game. Like
okay.
you can, if you have a sword, you can fuse things to it to make it stronger.
Yeah.
So now we have all these overpowered weapons. We're literally one-shotting pretty much anything we come up against.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm just like, cool, let's go kill Ganondorf because everything he could throw at us is literally nothing.
Yeah.
And Cassie's like, nah. And I get it, though. I mean, she really likes the game. And it's a fun game, but I said I was going to play 2 hours, and then I wanted to watch some anime and chill for the night. And I was at 11.
Jeez.
We didn't stop playing until 3 a.m. And then we were like, all right, let's wind down. And to wind down, we played TFT, Teamfight Tactics. That League of Legends, like, mobile game.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. And then we put the game down. I passed out within seconds, and that never happens. I was like,
I'm gonna grab water real quick.
give me one too, please. So, I mean, Breath of the Wild is just a lot.
You were playing that with Charles for a while.
Nah, Charles is playing it. For sure. But, like, I'm not playing it with him. You know what I mean?
He probably already beat Zelda.
I don't think he did. I think he's really enjoying it. My issue is like if you have me focusing on a single task for like upwards of 3 hours, I need a solid break. like if I do one thing for 3 hours, that's like me having sex for half an hour. Like I'm gonna finish what I'm doing, and then I'm gonna be like, cool. I need a snack, something to drink, and an hour or two to chill.
You just point A to point B in a game, not trying to do the extra stuff.
Very, very much. We tried the 100% Super Mario Odyssey. Fuck that all the way. And like, we're not gonna 100% this because in order to 100% it, you need all of the Koroks and there's over 1,000 of them, or I think there is 1,000 Koroks.
Well, there was 900 in the BOT.
Yeah, and they gave them. They think they gave us an extra 200 or an extra 100 this game.
Jeez.
And then there's one other thing that you need to collect all the time. There are these things called bubble frogs, and you only need to collect, I think, like 30, maybe 40 of them to get all the stuff you can get with them. And then at the end, it's all like, hey, there's 101 bubble frogs left on the entire continent. Collect them all, bring them to me, and then you get a secret scene. And I'm just like, bruh.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot.
It's so much. There's so many like other side quests in the game right now that are just like, hey, play the game and come back to me. Like, you gotta remember. So there's a lady that keeps track of all the wells.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the bubble frogs. Then there's the Koroks. Then there's the compendium, which is you take pictures of everything, and then it goes like, cool, you found this. So like,
oh, like the little photograph stuff.
yeah. And so she's like, gotta find all that. And then there's the armor. And then, yeah, it was pretty wild. But I'll say this, since I've like, this is how much of a point A to point B person I am. Cassie wasn't playing with me for a while. And so I was like, cool, I'm just gonna set up a couple things that I need to set up so I can do glitches, so I can like duplicate items or weapons or anything like that. And so I did all that, and now we're playing the game again, and it's like, oh, so you fight Ganondorf, and it's like, or the first time, and it's like, oh, okay. It turns out that we weren't strong enough to defeat Ganondorf here. But I've been reading this thing, and it says there's a secret 5th sage to help you fight. You remember in Breath of the Wild how they had the 4 divine sacred beasts that shot that beam? It was all like...
Yep.
Right. Instead, in this game, you get 5 ghosts that are just follow you around and fight whatever you're fighting.
Oh, that's...
And let me tell you, it's hilarious watching them go. Because if you're fighting something big, you want them so because that way it distracts it, so you can like set up positioning. But when you're fighting like 2-3 Boko Goblins, right, or Bokoblins, Bokoblins, whatever, they fucking go in and they annihilate them. And you're just standing there at that point, just like not getting hit by arrows.
Yeah.
So they were like, we need to find that 5th stage. And I had already found it, so I could... And I didn't even really care about the 5th stage. I wanted the... When you unlock it, there's a midway point when it's taking you to the 5th stage. Where you jump off, and then you're just in this huge tunnel between Topland and Chasm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you fire arrows into... If you attach items to arrows and fire them through the part where it transitions, they get stuck in the air and you get to collect them all. So I unlocked that whole thing. There was a whole quest line around it where you talk to people and there are cutscenes and everything. I said, fuck all that. I took a glider, jumped onto the island, picked up the mask, put it on a pedestal, opened the door, and I was like, fuck everything after that.
Yeah.
And so now Cassie's like, no, we're going to really, really, really fucking go in. We're going to do the entire Yiga clan quest line, which is fucking awful.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm tired, man.
I was gonna say, it sounds tiring just talking about it.
I know, it's just, it's a grind. And I don't grind well.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, no. I do not grind well.
I have a question. This is a good question, I think.
Yeah?
Because it was a question that I was talking to my friend today at the gym about. I don't know how it got to the point. I don't know how we got into this topic, but he was saying, he made a hard statement. He was like, girls, that you're...
Women.
Like, you're trying to pick a girl up. If you're trying to keep a girl around, getting into a deep conversation is not the way to do it.
No.
You agree?
Some girls
Yes and no.
Some girls are into that though.
Well,
I was going to say, we boiled it down to that like different strokes for different folks kind of thing.
Exactly.
But I feel like somewhere on that line, there's like this bell curve of normalcy. Where most girls are down for like 25% of like with your interaction with them 25% of the time if you get into a deep conversation, and it's not, there's a lot of contingents to this, but I was like 25%, right? And you just, so your hot take was no, so you kind of agreed.
Well, yes.
Having a deep
and
conversation with a Let's get into this.
No, so this is where I stand. So if you are with a girl and that girl is feeling you, then trying to start a deep conversation is 100% the move because that's their way of that's both of you basically coming up with an excuse to spend more time together to get to know this other person. Like for Cassie, right? If I'm bored and I'm like, I want to talk to Cassie, I'll just ask her about plants or animals and she will go in. I mean it. We actually had a whole hour conversation. I picked up a booklet from fucking Costco, and I was moving through it because since I don't spend money, I like to pretend like I have it, right? So I'm flipping through it, and I'm marking down the places where we can and cannot go for when I truly graduate and I want to go on a vacation, right? Because you know me, I don't give a fuck about the rest of the planet. But I've been with Cass for a couple years. She likes to travel, so I'm like, let's go somewhere, right? Let me see places. So I was like, okay, where do we want to go? And we had an hour-long conversation because when I would bring up a place, she would come up with like 10 different reasons on 5 reasons why we can go and 5 reasons why we shouldn't go.
So is this a deep conversation though?
It was an hour. It was 2-3 hours.
Okay, long conversation and a deep conversation are two different things.
Oh, like a deep conversation meaning like,
More like questions like.
oh. I don't like
it's
those.
like beyond the superficial, right?
Like the 4 a.m. conversation.
Yeah,
I don't like those.
Those weed conversations, those.
Yeah.
With some people, they do like
Deep
the
metaphysical.
It takes you out of that like just hookup zone into like, oh, this is someone who like I want to have these conversations with.
Right. But once you're out of the hookup zone, those conversations are just, for me, there's just a lot of people going like, hey, have you tried actually, like I had a deep conversation with Austin.
Yeah.
Which led me to the whole, like, where do my priorities lie in terms of, like, like time span, where I am in age, what do I want to get done before I get certain other things done. And I was just like, I left that, I was like, God damn, I'm about to have a hard conversation with Cassie about we might not be able to have kids before 30 because I got to pay off student loans, we got to get married, we got to do all this stuff. That's a lot of money. And that's a lot of money to earn and save.
Chime in here, too, on this, but we can agree. Maybe we can agree that if you're trying to keep a girl around, complaining about your problems all the time is a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could agree on that.
I do that all the time.
It's one of those weird things. Even when they ask you to, even when it's one of those things where you're like, they're like, oh, dude, it's okay to express your feelings. It's okay to cry. It's okay to complain. Like, share that. I feel like that's a trap. I feel like when you do that, you're getting to this point where it's like the moment you do that, subconsciously to them, they're going, oh, this guy's a weak bitch now.
Well,
no?
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I have 2 girls in my life that I can actually tell my problems to. And both of them are in it for the long run, no matter what, right? Because at the end of the day, they're just like, one of them is my wife, and the other one is just like, well, you're a friend I've had since high school, and at this point, right, we might as well just, my whole family, you might as well just be stuck here. So, and I don't talk to any of the girls in our group about that because I'm just like, I'm like, yeah, at this point.
Hot take here, but it's like one of those things. They love to share their problems, right? Women love to complain about that.
Of course they do, but they don't want.
But they're warranted to.
They don't want solutions though. What they want is you to hear them. Yeah.
For sure, I'm not. That's
what that is.
That's
though.
not the part of dispute.
Yeah.
But it's like that, not double standard, but it's like, it's kind of not their role, but like it's accepted, right? Them being able to complain about how tough their day was, or them being able to complain about the fucking complexes of their life, shit that's going south, things that are annoying them. They have that right to complain about that, and it's accepted, right?
Yeah.
We as guys.
I mean, that's like where the whole phrase "man up" basically comes from. Right?
For sure.
Right. Yeah. But like, what were you gonna say? Actually.
Well, it's like tying on to that thing where it's like, so does a deep conversation start falling into that line of not complaining, but you kind of sound like it gets into that weird gray area where you're kind of whining now. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because deep conversations inherently always touch on what scars or deep things you have in yourself that you're like trying to resolve.
Yeah.
Because it's never like no deep conversation ever starts off like, you know what, bro? The connection I have with Cinnabon really, really defines who I am as a person, and here's why. And then I'd go into all the reasons, but eventually that would just land in when I was a kid. Cinnabon was the one thing in the world where if I had a Cinnabon, there was nothing going wrong that day. There was nothing going wrong that day. Why was nothing going wrong that day? Because shit went wrong in my life. That's how, and that's where that takes.
And that was that one thing that kept you grounded too.
Right.
All right. At least this is the one thing I got going right for me. So everything else from here is on the up and up.
Right. Exactly. And so then it's like, well, why are you so concerned about, like, why isn't life just great for you all the time? And it's like, well, then there you go. Now you're at the, oh, you want to learn about what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
That's what I think the double standard is, right? It's when a man has a deep conversation, we're never complaining like, oh, man, this bitch at work, Tracy, knew that was my muffin. And she doesn't respect me in the office.
Yeah.
And she doesn't do this. And I'm just like,
Exactly.
no, most men conversations are like, yeah, my father fucking shot my dog when I was 6 years old. And I never really got over that. Like,
if they get that, right? Because
Right.
again, that becomes the thing of like showing, it's showing weakness, right? That's the part. You are showing some form of a part of you that either hasn't healed or that is still in growing.
right.
And you're going, hey, this is exposed. I'm exposing myself here right now.
Right.
I think there's a way to do that as a guy,
Yes.
where you can do that without it seeming like you're complaining or like you are becoming a whiny bitch, as we were saying.
Right.
But at the same time, it's, I won't say hard. It's just knowing how to do it right with the right person. Like,
Right.
because I've had, to be really fair and honest, I've had decent success of getting into, and I mean, y'all know me. I'm super into that. I'm always, if my choice is to jump into a deep conversation all day long, baby. But at the same time, it's like, if I do it wrong, you can kind of tell someone who's losing interest, right? But at the same time, it's dude, it's given me so much success in getting past that first stage of like breaking into that date or getting into that second level of things.
Yeah.
But the thing is so, and again, this is based off of my observations of my own experiences. Like, there was a couple girls where I'd try that out, and they're like, "Oh wow, like wow, that's deep. Oh my goodness." And the next time I hang out with them, they're just like, "Yeah, I don't want to talk about that right now."
Yeah.
But at the same time, those girls were not like trying to get serious about anything. They weren't trying to go any further level. It was
Right.
one of those things where they acknowledged the fact that I can go that deep in terms of conversation.
Yeah.
But their prerogative was just to hook up, and so they didn't care to do more than just scratch the surface.
Right.
Then I've had other girls who you could tell where they're not so inclined to hook up, who are just more down for something like that, where they're like, "Oh, dude, this is bread and butter," like,
Yeah.
you know. But I think at the end of the day, it boils down to different strokes for different folks. But
I mean, my thing too is like this whole idea of men showing vulnerability is very new still. You know what I mean? Like, we went centuries where people were like, men are men, women are women. That's how we do things. And now we're in this new age of like, well, now that we're looking into psychology of humanity and everything, we need to look at both sides and understand where we went wrong. And it was weird to me because it really looked like out of nowhere, all the men of the world just kind of stood up and said, yeah, no, we're not okay. We're not.
right, but as a man,
As a man.
it was almost one of those things where it's like, that's what it means to be a man. You sign up for that, right? Where you're like, where you go, it's not okay, but that's what it means for me to be a man. It's not okay, and I can't complain about it.
Right.
I'm a man. You know what I mean? Like, that was just that's what it means to be a man,
Right.
right? Because at the end of the day, you're going to go through more trial and tribulation, and you are going to suffer a lot as a man. And guess what? No one gives a fuck. No, to be really honest and frank. Like, people care, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you complaining to someone, you complaining to people about that, really, for the most part, doesn't help your case a lot. Again, like I said, more often than not, doesn't help your case. Right. And again, I had this conversation with my friend. He was like, you are better off talking to another bro or a friend about that than you are to a potential or to a female interest.
Well, I have an interesting thing. So I knew this girl in this class I was taking, right?
Uh-huh.
And she wasn't like there was no like, oh, like how are we trying to get to know each other type of thing. She was a lesbian. She knew I was engaged. And it was like this whole thing. But we were in a group together and we were just talking about stuff. And so she was all like, yeah, man, I got all these problems and da 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 da. And I was all like, oh, I got problems too. But what I did instead of trying to go into a deep conversation was I just was like, this is my life. Here you go. I was like,
Yeah, I tend to do that too. It's
Well,
just so easy.
right, and like, and I don't stretch it out or anything. I'm like, this happened, and this did, and that did this, and then this happened, and that did this, and now I'm here. And they were like, and then what ended up happening was she heard that, and then she was the one that was all like, matter of fact, not like, and she went into her whole story, and I was like, well, let me, and I gave her my opinion on it. She was like, man, that's so cool. You're so chill, blah blah blah. What they want, what I think is what a lot of people are ending up looking for is they're looking for someone who's willing to kind of go, oh, yes, that is fucked, and I'm here to talk to you about it, while also not really getting into what they're all about. They're looking for someone who has healed enough to be able to talk about their things, to show that they're open enough
Yeah,
to
1,000,000%.
talk to them about the woman's thing.
Yeah, it's this thing where you convey to the person that I am open and I am confident with who I am, and
Right.
it gives them the opportunity to also do the same thing.
Right.
Right. It's that idea of like, in this fairest sense, like you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Like in the same sense of a conversation, like when you do something like that, where you put yourself on that platter, you go, okay, this is everything here, all I got. The moment you do that, the person goes immediately, okay, well, this guy has dropped his guard without dropping his guard. Again, if you do it correctly, it's like this guy has opened himself up to this potential vulnerability without showing weakness, and yet now I'm compelled, and it's not like forced or coercion, but it's like now I feel compelled by my own volition to share in this.
Right.
Again, but you have to find that person who's willing to get to that, like who's on that wavelength.
Right.
Because I think when you get to that point, when you're on that level, you have to be pretty sure and confident of yourself to be able to even access that.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's a catch-22, right? Because you can get to that level where you're like, oh, and I dated a girl like this where I was like, oh, dude, this is what I'm all about, and she would not want to, like, breadcrumbs. She breadcrumbed it the whole time. I'm like, all right, that's all right. Like, I'm not looking for you to, like, I wasn't explaining myself so you can explain yourself. Like, that's not how this catches itself.
Yeah.
It's more of a situation where I'm just putting it out there and, just letting you know.
I mean, but and I guess though, like that's just fine though. I think.
For sure.
Yeah, because it's just like at this point where we are all at as a society, it's really we're no longer looking for. It used to be real simple, right? It was like find somebody you didn't need to know their whole life story, but you need to know they could treat you right, and
Sure.
that's why it was so simple. But now we're in this age where it's like we're all complicated creatures now. Every single one of us.
Well, yeah.
is
Well,
a
I was gonna
complicated
say
creature. Yeah.
the reason why now that we not that we need to, but it's like almost like double checking your work is when you get into that level where you're like starting to learn each other's deeper parts. Their deeper history past, what makes them them.
Yeah.
You can honestly start to find out before you even start getting into that part of the relationship how it might turn out.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Does this person have, parent issues? Does this person come from a separate, like a split household, split custody? And that's not where the red flags are drawn, right? Because, maybe it is, maybe it's not. But, that can, depending on how they were shaped from it,
Yes.
you can kind of determine in what direction they kind of lean from it, right?
Yeah.
So, for my parents, they're both, they're divorced. And, for a hot minute, it was one of those things where, I started seeing the trend in my family that, divorce is common. At the same time, will that happen for me is always the question, right? Well, I'm like, based on if I look into my family history, the success rate for my first marriage seems like it would be atrocious.
Yeah.
Right. At the same time, if I could look on their past and see how they, see where they went wrong or like how it went wrong on my dad's relationship, and all of my other auntie and uncle's relationships, I could kind of determine how to better combat that.
Yeah.
At the same time, right, if I don't even think on that level like that, there's no way I'd have a better chance at like doing something that my parents weren't able to do.
Right.
You know?
When I was in high school, I used to always tell couples this. I was like, be in it, be full in, do everything that you need, but always be prepared for that first fight. Because what I was really trying to say is you know them when things are easy, right? The moment things get hard, you learn a lot about a person, how their conflicts resolution skills work, how they see how things need to be organized or taken care of, and in what order and where their priorities lie. Until you learn that about a person, right? You guys are very much in the very like, oh, we're just happy to be together and everything's great. But really, you're just no longer lonely. That's all that is. And then once you're once you're no longer worried about being lonely, then this whole thing comes crashing in where it's like, oh, well, now I have to worry about how I handle conflicts, how I handle what are our priorities, what are the things that I'm looking forward to for the rest of my life, and what are the things you're looking forward to for the rest of your life. And a lot of times people will find that out and they'll go, oh, so we were on two completely different continents here.
Yeah.
Right? And they'll be like, I guess so, but we were just pen pals. So it's like, that's why I'm like, if you can get into a deep conversation, you'll see where they'll go with that. When you give them the baton and say, it's your turn to open up and speak on the things, a lot of men and women, right? On the women's perspective, they'll hand it to the man, and the man will go, this is where I am, and this is because of this, and this. And it'll be like, okay, so those are the defining moments that make this man feel this way about these topics.
Yeah.
And for the woman, it'll be like, okay, these are, from a man's perspective to the woman, that man will look at her and go, okay, so these are the things that I need to help. You know what I mean? Like, a man will probably hear all those things and go, okay, so these are the things I need to keep an eye on, because when that happens...
Awareness towards...
Exactly, because when that happens and they get into those mindsets, I need to be the rock. Right. And men, and I love Cassie so much. She is my rock. But, I mean, I'm not a good example to have, because, yeah, Cassie's a very good rock. But I've had one relationship before her, the only one before her, and they were an incredibly horrible rock. They were like bamboo sheet paper, like that you have in, like, old style Japanese homes. It's supposed to be a wall, but you just poke a finger through, right? So when you're a man looking for someone else to be that rock, a lot of times it will not be women. It just won't. Like my mom, I love her. She is solution oriented.
Yeah.
So if I come to her with a problem, she has two things. She'll either tell me, this is how you solve that problem, or that's not a problem. If you just drop it right now and ignore it completely, you'll be fine. You have other things to worry about. So it's like, now, when you're in I don't know, I mean, this is me outside looking in. Again, I don't know this dating game nowadays. I haven't dated in a decade, okay?
I mean, it's
I don't know how single people talk to each other. Like, how do strangers...
I was going to say, it's...
talk to each other.
I feel like we are... you touched on this earlier, but we are definitely in somewhat of something of an experiment of a societal stage in the human race. Like,
yep.
I think...
something's in the water that's making the freaking frogs gay. Okay, sorry.
I think contextually, like... religion was a hard point for a lot of people to help get through their relationships, right?
Yeah,
it forced people to stick into a relationship because it was a relationship with a person that was wedded by God, right? It was one of those ideas where it's like, okay, we are going through a rough patch right now, but I'm committed to you, you're committed to me. We have this foundation of faith, and faith is telling us to stick through it, and it's gonna be rocky, like you said, it's gonna be rocky.
Yeah.
But let's see how this, like, we got to get through these fights because we got God on both of our sides in this relationship, right?
Yes.
I think today there's less so that's this harder commitment to religion, which is it is what it is, right? I'll just say that. It is what it is.
Yeah.
At the same time, it does make relationships a lot faultier because there's less of and I'm going to use your context here, of a rock to solidify and ground people to, right?
Yeah.
Because when shit goes south, they can't go, oh no, dude, God's got us. Don't worry, we just gotta tough it out. God, we got religion on our side. The Bible told us that like we're not gonna have easy. Like there's gonna be hard times too.
Right.
Right. People just go, oh, dude, this is getting hard and difficult, and oh, dude, I'm not about this. I'm out.
Right.
And I've seen that happen a lot now, where it's like, the moment people feel unease, just the slightest unease, they go, no, this is way too unstable for me. I'm good. Pass. Right. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me a couple times.
I mean, of course.
Where I'm just like, and again, I've dabbled in that where I'm like, because I don't, in terms of like religious standpoints, like I'm pretty free flow,
Right.
just give or take.
But the point you're making is completely, I think is completely valid because like, didn't they call this new era of like, what was it? Hookup era. Hookup.
Oh yeah, hookup culture, dude.
Hookup culture. That's what I.
Yeah, we are completely in this. If people and if we threw it back to the people before us and before them, they probably think we're all a bunch of sluts, whores, guys, girls.
Yeah.
Just like we are just a bunch of, like, honestly, we'd be like, oh, they're devil worshipping, like fuckery going on here. Like, to be really honest, but that's how it's turned out, dude. Like, I work at the bars, I see it all the time where people are just like,
have sex with one person who's really into heavy metal in their bedroom, and tell me you don't feel like you're doing a satanic.
Well, it's one of those things that was like guys and girls pass each other around like joints, man. And it's so, and I'm very old. I have a very old-fashioned mindset, and I probably want to. I believe that I just want to keep that like old school like, romance alive.
Yeah.
And it's just so difficult.
Oh yeah.
With any girl that or like probably throw a number out there, like 6 out of 10. So 60% of the time, I think most girls that have any sort of peak interest are usually trying to jump into this idea that society has accepted, which is that hookup idea, where it's like, dude, try it. It's a, dude, 7-day free trial, go for it.
Right.
But
yeah.
But now this begs to this idea that I carry, where I saw this quote, and I agreed with it, and I just didn't know how to word it, so I'm just gonna paraphrase what it said. But it was something along the lines of like, men are born with like no value, and in their lives, what they're doing is proving and raising their value.
Right.
On the other hand, women are born with high value, and their goal throughout their life is to preserve that value.
Yes.
And
to make this in the context, we're not talking about like China. Just want to put that out. We're not talking about like when men are born no value because they're men. No, we're talking about like when a man is born, the reason why the world looks at them the way they do is because they're gonna. When you look at a boy, right? When you give birth to a boy, 9 times out of 10, the world will look at him and go, he's gonna go to school, get a job, make money, provide for his family, and die.
But what's that word? Provide, right?
Yeah.
What if you have no value as a man? What can you provide, right?
Right.
So that's as men, what we do is we build our skills and we sharpen our tools and we get better and we start raising our own value so we can be able to provide.
I provide solid vibes.
And
True.
And females, man, like, and this is like, this is trying to avoid this idea of sexism here, but it's like, women are already born on this, not pedestal, but like with some high value where it's like, dude, every time,
I mean, they're the ones being chased, right?
well, yes and no, but
right.
But what I'm getting to is like, for instance, I have 3 nephews and a niece, right? When the 3 nephews were born, which they were born first, right? Like, I never thought, like, oh, dude, these guys are... I mean, I did. I was like, these guys are precious. At the same time, I'm like, let's toughen them up. Like, let's get them into sports. Like, let's start fucking hardening them a little bit for life, right? Like, but with the girl, you're trying to keep that purity there where you're like, oh, dude, you be that princess you want to be. Like, wear those dresses. Like, be that, be innocent.
I have
Right.
I have a very skewed view though. My family and my perspective can't support what you're saying because my family is actually the complete opposite of that. If you look at my family dynamic, right? Mm-hmm. You'll have the women in the family that are very much like careers so I have two aunts that have a bunch of kids, right?
Yeah.
And those two aunts are very much like we take care of our family, we do it all. But when they're like doing that whole like we're doing it all sort of thing, they're very much like in control of the entire household. So like when I went to go visit my family for Thanksgiving a couple of years back, it was hilarious because you have all these women that are like, yeah, careers, children, everything. The women in my family run the whole family. And then the men in my family, I went to go see them. They were in the basement, sitting quietly, watching football, doing nothing except drinking. And there was one other aunt with them.
Now, can I ask?
Yeah.
The men in the family, are they the breadwinners?
Yes
Are they the ones
and
that
no.
work all the time?
They are the ones that work all the time. I don't think I have any... There aren't any people in my family that... I think maybe I have one aunt that is like an actually stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
But for being black, right, when you live in a primarily black community, you'll find a lot of women that were single mothers, right?
Right.
So you have... And as that carries over for generations, you end up with a lot of black families where the mother is completely in charge. For my family...
Actually, but that's the funny thing is like, that's usually how family, I mean, that just sounds like a normal family household though, right? Like a 2-person household where the mother and father are still wedded and they still live under the same roof and they're both raising the kids. Usually the mom is the one that's fucking dictating the orders and the dad is the one that's bringing in the bread. Now today it's a little different because it's hard to make a fucking living with raising a kid, right? So again, when I grew up, my parents were both the breadwinners.
Yeah.
Right? It became the thing where, like, my dad's profession just happened to let me spend more time with him. Mm-hmm. At the same time, let's get into this thought experiment where, as a father, right? Like, so let's imagine that we have kids, right? Whether it's a boy or a girl. Let's say it's a boy.
Yeah.
You're going to want to raise that dude to... Let me put this personalized. I would want to raise him to be something of a good man, right?
Right.
How do you take care of women? How do you treat women? How do I want him to be athletic. I want him to be active, healthy. I want him to be ready for when he wants to start his family, that he's got all the fucking tools and skills he needs.
Right.
Same thing with a woman, but it's a different kind of set of skills and tools.
Right.
Where I'm like, okay, how do you keep a man? Right? I'm going to my son and I'd be like, this is how, like, here are the tools for you to start your family.
Right.
This is the tools you need to not only, like, bag a woman, but also maintain and keep. Right? Same with the woman. Like, this is how you preserve your value so high that you are going to be the fucking pick. You are going to be that top litter pick, right? As a guy, you're going to have the pick of the litter.
Right.
As a girl, you are going to be that top pick of the litter where it's like, in a normal day society, as Vanille said, like as, women are the prize to be chased, in a non-objectified way, right?
But here's what I was trying to get at, right? So like if you look at my cousins right now, right? So you have me, Jazz, Shar, Malik, Kyrie's, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a bunch of other cousins that I'm not gonna name right now, but actually no, Nairi, Deja, and then JD. I have so many cousins. Anyway, if you look at them, right? We view each and every single one of them sort of on a case-by-case basis, but it really went like this. You had me, Kyrie's, and Malik, the 3 men that were like, our family still lived in Nebraska for a while. So, with me, I was raised primarily by my mother. No, I have nothing against my father, but my mother raised me, and she was very much like, you're not going to be like one of these black men out here that grew up all big and strong and tough, and then you're gonna enter into the world still carrying that mentality, and then something gets fucked up because you're a black man in America and you're out in jail or you're out fucking with tattoos and bullshit like that. So you're gonna be raised to be very sensitive, very emotionally responsive, right? And those are the values I want you to have. And then outside of that, I want you to be hardworking and determined to succeed. And that was it. And then if you look at my cousin Malik, he was raised by my Uncle Richard primarily. And Uncle Richard was like, you're going to be a man. He raised him exactly like you just said. You're going to have your pick of the litter, right? You're going to be fit. You're going to be good looking. You're going to be a smooth talker. He's very smart. Don't get me wrong. But he's like, but you're going to be an athlete. And you're going to look good. You're going to be good. You're going to learn. He knows how to treat women very nicely. But he also has some of my uncle's quirks. And then if you know my uncle, you know what I mean. And then now let's look at the last boy, right? Kyrese. Now Kyrese was raised in my uncle and his mom separated, but he got a stepdad, and there was all that. He was raised in like the stereotypical 2-parent single child, let's live life, or maybe he has a brother or sister that aren't my cousins. But I lived with his stepdad and stuff like that. And he was the one that ended up going full on, like, I'm joining the military. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be good looking. He has the whole package. Mm-hmm. Like, genuinely, I saw him a couple years back, and everyone in the family was just like, have you seen Kyrese? Where's that fucking kid that would cry when he couldn't get a Hot Wheels toy? Now he's respectful and nice and courteous, and he's well-spoken and blah, 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 blah. And now let's look at my cousin Jasmine. Cousin Jasmine, everyone in the family is like, that's the one. Put her on the pedestal, keep her up there. She's the one that's going to run this family into presidency. You know what I mean? Let's look at Nairi. Let's look at Deja. You guys are the women in our family. You are going, like, black men ain't worth shit. Or not black men, but like men ain't worth shit. You're going to make it in this world. You're going to be best of the best of the best. Don't let anybody ever tell you not. And a lot of them ended up crumbling under the immense pressure of being that. Right? Well, but now you look at the men, and all the men in our family are like, you know what? I was with my uncle. Not my mom's brother, but a different uncle. And they were like, what would your life have been if you didn't find Aunt Veronica? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I'd just probably be chilling, probably out there. And Aunt Veronica goes, he'd be in his mama's basement smoking weed. he wouldn't be out here doing what he's doing now. This is because he has me. This is because I run the shop right. And I was just like, okay then. So that's my family. Women in my family are very much like, hey, are you a man? Cool. I don't give a fuck. If you're emotionally sensitive, I don't give a fuck. I'm here for that. Sure, talk to me, whatever, cool. But I am here to make sure, as my man, that you are not fucking around. Right? Fucking put all 10 toes on the ground and work towards being the most successful man you could be in my life. Because I don't need you. And they never will.
I think that's an ideal... See, that's the thing. That sounds super ideal, right? Like, I think every guy looking for, like, a solid relationship is looking for that kind of support role where it's like, oh, you're all in on me? All right, well, I got to double down then,
Right.
At the same time, and this is, again, I'll speak on my family's behalf in a generalized way. I've seen the women in my life who have committed themselves to their profession, and they have zero success in their relationships.
Yeah.
Because it's all into the profession.
Right.
And I'll tell you this, I don't think, and I kind of agree, I'm not super interested in a girl who is all in on their profession.
Right.
Because they don't have anything to commit to the relationship anymore.
Exactly.
And it just gets, that's where you get that Amazonian where you're like, it is that, like, I don't need no man, so I can do this shit on my own. Like, I'll raise my own kid.
My entire family is full
I'm already ready for single motherhood if it hits me in the face, Like,
honestly, my entire family is full. Man, look at Jasmine, right? When she came down and she dropped that bomb, and I was like, okay, what's going to happen? Like, what's going on? She's like, whatever happens, happens. I'm ready.
Yeah. Hey,
Let
that's-
God throw his biggest challenge at me. Like, I'm like, okay, that's you.
Hey, more power to him, right? But
Right.
at the same time, like, again, I'm not. I that's not what I'm not looking for someone who's has the mindset that they're like, oh, I'm ready to raise this on my own. I'm ready to fucking run this shit by myself if I have to. No one wants that, right? Because that's not even teamwork anymore.
No.
You're just going, okay, if it works, it works. But guess what? If you fucking quit on the team, I'm gonna be here for it anyways. Like,
But that also speaks to the expectations you have for this person that you're
Exactly.
trying to start this life with.
exactly,
You're
right?
just
Like,
like-
how? Oh,
like,
please finish.
You're just like, I love you and everything about this is great, cool. But if you fucking if you fuck up, I don't need you.
Yeah.
And when you come at a relationship like that, you're effectively if you came at me like that, I'm not hearing, great, she's taking care I can depend on her. I'm hearing, oh, okay, so then why am I fucking here?
Right.
Like, if I had a child, right, and they were like, I don't expect you to stay, it's okay, I'd be fucking heartbroken because I'd be like, then why the fuck, like, what? So you not only do you want the child and you're happy and blah blah blah, but also you're happy without me. What is this partnership then? Why is that how it has to be? I was like, and at least don't even come at me like that. Expect me to stay, and when shit hits the fan and I do leave, don't make that like, oh, I saw that coming or I expected that to happen. At least just be like, well, I'm prepared. Be like, I'm prepared,
That's the problem.
but only after they fuck up. Don't come out the gate like, I'm not expecting.
And that's the
anything.
problem of today, right? Is that people will, and this is the thing, is like, you always got to have that contingency plan on the offhand where worst case scenario happens, right? That becoming the worst case scenario where, you knocked up or, you get pregnant, you have a kid, and partner's already half, like, 1 foot out the door.
Right.
That's a contingency plan. But the moment you speak it into existence, you're already, like, prophesizing this idea that, you know what, and again, like I said, this is the problem of today. It's like it happens so often now that people are already predicated to this idea where they're like, I'm not even expecting you to stay because no one really ever does because this was an accident and
Actually,
at the same time, but if you're putting all the emphasis on like, no, I'm already seeing your foot out the door, like might as well just here's the boot.
right.
Now you've already given up on this idea of keeping a household together.
And we know people like this. I'm not gonna name names, but we did know someone that got into a relationship where it was like, I love him with all my heart and everything about him. I just want to be there and blah 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 blah. And then when things got rough, she was like, I understand if you leave.
Yeah.
Right out the door. It wasn't even like, oh, they're talking about maybe he's gonna leave if this is how it's gonna be. They came out the door with, I understand if you don't want to be with me anymore.
Right.
And you're just like, okay, whoa. That is not where I was going. And a lot of times, at least, I've seen this not many times, but enough. And a lot of times, men are like, "That's not even where I was going." But they'll hear that, and that one phrase or that one thing they said, where they're expecting you to leave or abandon them or just
You're
all
more likely
around.
to now.
Right now, you're angry, and now because it's usually in a fight, so now you're angry, and they just said that, and so now you're just like, okay, well, maybe I do need to. Maybe I do leave. Right? And it's just
Yeah.
like, well, and it didn't be like that. It could have been a whole different thing. Could have been what?
It's back to that analogy where it's like, that person's not even saying that they're all in.
Right.
So if you're not all in, what am I doubling down on then?
Right. Exactly.
There's nothing to double down on if you're not all in.
Exactly.
That's how it goes. I think that's like and again, it's there's a lot that goes into it societally and
Culturally.
culturally and sociologically, where
yeah.
it's like, they like to, like, I would say emphasize. They would like to emphasize that statistic more, where it's like, oh, dude, I don't know. It's one of those things where like people start teaching you about this stuff now, and that's not something that we should be teaching. It should be something that we should be like better fighting against in terms of like, you shouldn't be thinking that like the moment some accident happens like that, you shouldn't be already like, okay, all right. I was taught this. I was taught that, now this is like, that person can leave my life. That's a reality. I can prepare myself. No, like, we got to better like educate and better like structure our culture and
Yeah,
society to
100%.
believe in this idea that was once never even a something we had to question, where it's like, okay, we have this kid, all right, now let's get married, right? Like, let's lock this in. Like, we already have a child together, like, might as well, like,
Right.
fucking like seal the deal and make sure this thing is fucking watertight.
Right. But
You
like,
know?
I mean, like actually, prime example here. Two prime examples, right? So I already told you about Jabman and everything like that, and the guy was when the guy was like, "I'm here for it. Let me put 100% in, double down the whole way, the whole 9 yards. I'm here for it." And she was like, "Hold your roll, pump your brakes, all right? I'm good. I'm solid. Let's look at what's happening with us." I mean, again, it was a very new relationship, of course, so they need to build up to truly knowing if they're the ones, even now, right?
Sure.
But he was like, "I'm ready," and Gemma was like, "Hey, pump your brakes," and that's fine. All the power to her.
Right.
But
You have that right to exercise.
you
for
do
sure.
have that right to exercise, exactly. But also at the same time, it's like, okay, but you need to be able to communicate that while also recognizing the level of commitment and readiness that he was trying to display to you, because he's not doing that for himself, he's doing that for you. And if you're going to look at that and say thank you for the sentiment, but no, you
Right.
got to be able to communicate that in a way that you truly do appreciate what they're saying.
I think that's true. I think too, like, and I made a hard comment on like marrying down, but like, it's that reassurance that like this is a partnership. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I'm getting at. It's like
Right.
It's like you don't have to lock it down in terms of marriage. It just makes the whole situation 20 million times easier.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, like, if you just reassure from both sides that I'm in, we're both in this situation, and I'm here for the fucking team, right? If you make that reassurance, I think a lot of things blow over a lot easier
Right.
than going like, nah, like I've seen this trend before in our culture and society.
Right.
I'm fully aware and expecting you to not be here, and I am preparing myself for that. That's already preparing yourself for doom, failure, right?
And then that takes us back to the whole thing we were talking about earlier. It's like how women view men when they show those layers of themselves, those deep layers of themselves. Because when a man is going to look at you and say, "I'm 100% here for the team," that is them opening up all their layers and saying, "This is all of me and it's all for you."
Yep.
And if you, not even as a woman, but like as a partner or as a potential partner, look at that and go, "Wow, nah, I'm not ready. Sorry, but I gotta go." That's just gonna put another layer on top of everything that they just had, because then they worked very. Cause listen, if you look at how men are raised in today's society, they're now being taken off of this whole idea of work, provide, be a man, close up, be strong, be the rock. They're now being taken into this whole thing of like, well, now actually women are supposed to be the equals of us all, and therefore, if they're allowed to be open and they're allowed to be sensitive, so are you. So do not lock that part inside of you anymore. And then they are open, and then immediately they just have to be like, okay, that was the wrong move. That was
Right.
the wrong move.
I was gonna say I know what you're saying, and I agree with it.
I'm not good at explaining it, but yeah, you know what
But
I'm talking about.
I agree with what you are trying to say, but I disagree with that concept. Right? It's not that like we used to watch John Mulaney, right? He was like, like an Irishman, you just bottle it up, and then one day you die.
Yeah.
Like, but low key, that's kind of the case. Now, like, you have other homies, you have other outlets.
Yeah.
But that's just, I mean, maybe this is just like from old fashioned, old school mindset, but it's just like, that was just the roles of the household, right? Like, it wasn't, we'll split the duties 50-50. It was like, okay, I will do what I can to show them how to be a man, and if I have a daughter, how a man should act, right?
Yeah.
And I need you to show them I'll show them the masculine, you show them the feminine. We can't go me half masculine, half feminine, and you half masculine. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
3/4 the quarter, 3/4 the quarter. Like, that's going to naturally display itself anyways, right?
Right.
At the same time, right? Like, you're the masculine role for a reason. They're the feminine role for a reason.
That's gonna be a
Play to
problem
your
when I have
strengths.
kids.
You know what I mean? Play to your strengths.
That's gonna be a real hard problem when I have kids.
That's why you're friends, though, right? Like, it takes a
Yeah.
village.
Honestly, but the village is, it's a weird thing.
But, and here's, and I'll do you one even further, though, right? In terms of, like, this is like, that whole idea that we were just talking about in terms of, like, people are already preparing themselves for, like, oh, I'm going to single motherhood, raising this child on my own, like, relationships falling apart. I think it stems from the idea of a hookup culture.
Yep.
I think the fact that you could just fucking fuck around and, like, and not have to come, and, dude, it can be fun, I presume, right? Like, obviously, because people do it all the time, right? There's some fun to it. At the same time, I feel like there's an essence of you that kind of dies every time you do it, where you kind of forget what romance, what relationships are solidified by. Because if you're just hooking up all the time, you are already 1 foot out the door.
Right.
And it's one of those things where you're like, all right, that was a one-time thing. Hey, it was a good try. This ain't it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really does go both ways, though. I think the issue with it that ultimately makes it not work is that if you only had the one side of hookup culture, which was, we're going to try it out, but we're going to have the 1 foot out the door, I think we would be able to work around that. But we have two sides where it's one person probably has their foot out the door and the other person is genuinely not even here. They're going to take romance, they're going to take all of it, and they're going to master it just so they can use it for a week and then move on to someone else. And it's just like, okay, so then now if you're on back end of that, if you're on the back end of somebody who came out and was like, let me take you out to dinner, let me buy you flowers, let me take you to these spots where we can look at beautiful sunsets and we can talk about a potential future for ourselves, and then you just immediately go, after you get what you want and you go, cool, I'm gone, it was so fun, but I have some things that I need to work on or things I need to look at. Then it's just like, okay, so now when I go into my next relationship, if somebody did all the same amount of effort, right? Flowers, romance, sweet talks, dinner, everything, right? Then it's like a whole, okay.
I'm seeing the patterns.
Right, I'm seeing the patterns. I can't trust this. They might actually be very, very for you that time.
Yeah.
But you're going to keep your defense up because you know that even if they go all that way, that it might not mean anything.
It's a waste of time.
Right. And so, but as a society, we don't have, we don't have all these things where we could be like, oh, what's really romantic? You should come meet my parents. Like that's,
Yeah.
But like, I will say this, meeting the parents is probably the closest, most like the closest thing you're going to get to like a written agreement that they're actually here for this long run.
That's a big step, dude. Or that's a big step in terms of like realness, right? 'Cause if you're
I met Bianca. I met her parents. Third day I started dating her.
yeah,
Third
but
day.
Dude, that was also freshman year in high school.
Fine. Cassie, I know we started dating senior year of high school.
Still high school.
Fine. I don't have any good references. I guess. Whatever.
Because that's the thing, though. Like in high school, you're living with your parents.
No, it was different. They were like, come here, meet us, sit down at the table. And I'm like, there's the difference. With Bianca's family, it was like, whatever. I met him at the mall. I said, hi, thank you. Now you know who. Because that's safety at that point. That's like, I need to know who my daughter is with. Fine. But with Cassie's family, they were much like, we need to meet this man. We need to know who he is and what this means for our granddaughter. And
isn't that a green flag, though? In terms of...
It is.
It's a
very
green flag, right?
They're very loving
That's
and
a
supportive.
beautiful green flag, because it's like, okay, we
family.
cherish our granddaughter enough to see the guy that she is dating.
But it was a huge step for Cassie, actually, because Cassie
sure.
had never, ever before me introduced her boyfriends to any of her family.
And that's a green flag.
And
a green flag in the terms of there's some sacredness to meeting parents, right? You're going,
Exactly.
I'm welcoming you to all facets of my life,
Right.
including my family.
Right. So, but that's what I'm getting at. Like now we're in this weird, it's kind of weird that now, if you want to commit, if commitment is on your mind, the step to really prove that is meeting the parents, because.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
But so now. But if that's the case, then what's the point of all the romance and all the sweet talk and all these things, because it's just like, if I did all of that for you for 6 months, right? Not even 6 months, for a month, right? I did all of that for you. And then you're still wondering if I'm committed. That's not because of me. That's because you've been hurt so many times that you can't just see what I'm doing and go, "Oh, he's here for it." Because
Yeah.
what else is what if I'm supposed to be romantic, right? What else am I supposed to do besides buy you flowers, take you to dinner, see how your day is going, do all the things that a normal person would do, and then, like, what's next? How do I do that without meeting your parents? Right? You can't. You gotta go meet the parents, and until you meet the parents, everything's just in the air.
I think if hookup culture was not as prevalent as it is, right? And this is the problem with hookup culture, right? Like and honestly for guys, it's less of a problem than it is for girls.
Yeah.
Right? Cuz like if you sleep with a bunch of women, that's not a bad thing. You're a womanizer. And if you look into it deeply enough, you can start to see where it becomes a problem, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, for a woman, it's very forthright in terms of like you go like, oh man, like she just gets passed along, or like she has so many bodies on her, like what?
Yeah,
What?
but like that also the thing about women having a lot of bodies though only really matters when they come off like that. Like I know many women that their body counts is in the triple digits, and they still
Automatic pass.
I
Doesn't
mean,
matter.
automatic pass for you, I'm sure.
But that's
like,
what I'm saying. Like that's just me though, right? Like that's
That's-
for me.
yeah.
Like if some girl came up to me and she was like, yeah, I've had a lot of partners. Yeah, up to dude. They say triple digits. I'm already like, no, it's platonic at best.
I mean, and that's fine. That's fine. I mean, for you, I get why that's for you. But I know for at least the people I know that have very high body counts, they're very much like, no, we have high body counts because for right now, all they're looking for is that platonic thing, and they have urges. But after all that, when they find that one that they're very much like, oh, this is for me, they are very much like, okay, then fuck everybody. It's so much easier for them to take all those guy friends that are like very much like, oh, hey, we're trying to get to know you and everything, and be like, get the fuck out of my life.
But here's and this is where I draw that line is like, it's a discipline thing at that point then, right? For me at least.
Oh, for
because
you,
you can
yes.
get to know people platonically, but you said platonically, and
They have
she has
urges.
yeah, right. But so that just shows like how disciplined you are to your urges.
Right, and that's why I gave you the pass on like why that's an automatic pass for you, because you're not coming at it from like, oh, she's a slut. Nah, you're coming at it from, oh no, that's a discipline thing.
Yeah.
You can have sex. I don't give a fuck if you have sex, but if you're gonna have sex because you just want it, not because it's something important to you, then that's where my issue comes from.
100%.
Exactly. That's where your issue comes from. I don't have an issue with it, but then again, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm locked down. I'm airtight. Put me on a spaceship and leave me on the moon. Like where I'll be for the next rest of my life. But that's just me. You guys know me. I'm one who was like, in high school, I was like, if you even give me the fucking time of day, I'll commit. I'll commit.
See, and that's me. My standards are way higher, but
Yeah.
I think it's
I mean,
warranted.
I'll say this with Cassie, it really was a roll of the dice, because when we started out, there was nothing that was like, we're committed here, right? But then as time went on, I was like, I got lucky, I will say, because I'm a committer. So she was the one that was like, oh, guys or whatever to me. Because she was expecting men to not be good.
Because of her past, right?
Right.
Exactly.
And so then we both got lucky with each other, and she was like, yeah, if you're my boyfriend, here, I'll treat you right. And I was like, this is what being treated right looks like? What? Because when my first girlfriend, I swear to God, I paid for her. I think I've told you this on the podcast before, right? There were days where I wouldn't eat lunch because I didn't have the money because I was paying for her lunch in high school. And I have a job. I have no side income. My parents gave me money for lunch, and I took half of that and gave it to her.
Yeah.
That's not like, and she didn't need that. You know what I mean? And then I did her math homework. I cleaned her turtle's tank while she played Animal Crossing on her DS. Right? I fucking fed her siblings when nobody in the house was willing to cook. You know what I mean? Like that's what I thought that was normal until I met Cassie. And Cassie was like, oh, you understand that when I say things, it's a problem to this day. when I say things or bring things up, that is not me telling you, take care of it for me. That is me telling you, this is something that I have to remember later so I can do later. And she'll say something like, we play Zelda right now, right? And she'll be like, oh, you see that thing right there? Oh, she'll be like, oh, there's a shrine over there when we're trying to do something else. And I immediately turn around and I walk towards that shrine. And she's like, oh, I wasn't saying go to the shrine. I was just noting that there's a shrine there. And I'll be like, oh, okay. That's a thing. All right. And so, like, for me, I commit hard, but I got lucky. For the rest of the world, though, for all the people that do commit hard, right? Imagine if I was a piece of shit now for 10 seconds. Not like the piece of shit
Just
I am.
for 10 seconds?
Fuck you. I mean, I can be a piece of shit now, but like a piece of shit, it's a floater in the sewer. Like, it's not bothering anybody. It's not a problem.
It's with all the other turds.
Right. It's with all the other turds. But like, imagine if I was like a real piece of shit, like one that like made you have to call a plumber type shit, right? If I was with Cassie, that would have been horrible. Because not only does she have the car and the money and the well-off family and the nice house and everything, now I'm coming at it and I see that and I'm like, oh, I'm here for that. Now that would have been bad for Cassie because as a committer, it would have been like, she's trapped here with me. So I got lucky. But if you're like Cassie and you're meeting these piece of shit men that are just like, yeah, let's hang out. Here's my top 5 red flags, right? 1, if you text me to fucking hang out at past fucking 8 p.m., oh, fuck no, get the fuck out of my life. You ain't trying to be here. You ain't trying to be here. Shit went down. You're either horny, sad, or lonely. That's what that is. That's not you're here for me. Right? Number 2, if you're out here, right? Like I have 4, I'm not going to say it. But I got money, right? That money, if Cassie needed all of it today, it is hers. And it sucks, but whatever. If you're out here like, oh shit, I forgot my wallet at home. Oh shit, money's tight this month. Oh, like if your phrase is money's tight this month, get the fuck out. Money shouldn't be tight for more than a couple days. Right, at best. Money's never been tight for me for more than a couple days. Right? And I don't even gotta... shit. Fuck. Put student loans in my bank account tomorrow.
So far, I'm not quite disagreeing.
No, those are solid
these
red
are
flags.
pretty valid.
These are solid red flags. I don't really have 5. I'm just naming them off as I go. Right? And then a third red flag that really fucking stands out to me is this. I can understand when we are putting equal amounts of... I now know what it looks like to put equal amounts of effort, or at least as much effort as you can into a relationship. It might not be 50-50, right? A lot of times it might be 80-20 or 70-30, whatever. But I know what it looks like when somebody is like, this is all I can give you right now, and I'm going to give it to you.
Well, it's like a Bible passage, right? It's like the guy who has like $100 and only charitably gives 10.
Yeah. He gave all he had.
Is less giving than the guy who has like $1 and gave that entire $1.
Right.
Same thing.
Exactly. So if I'm out here genuinely like, okay, get this done, put gas in the car, clean the house, do the dishes, check this out, make money, put money down, do all that stuff. And Cassie's over here, and if, Cassie's not, but if Cassie were over here like, thank you, my love, you're the best, oh my God, right? Then I'm just going to be like, oh, okay. So then, I give her the pass because she dealt with it with me for a while, but that was because, again, school is a lot. But you look at me now, right? I don't got no job. I'm not paying rent, right? But I'm still waking up every day like, okay, these are the things that have to get done. I have to go to Costco. I got to buy the things. I got to go buy a new fire alarm. I got to make sure I call the plumber. I got to make sure I call this person. When she gets home, if I'm not done working on everything she asked me to get done, she's sad not because I'm abusing the relationship, but because she knows for the rest of the day, until what I needed to get done got done, I'm working. I'm going to be there. She'll get home by 4:30. I'll be like, oh, well, I was over at Storm. She's alone for the next weekend, so I wanted to spend a couple hours with her while I was there. I called the plumber to try to get that figured out. And then on Tuesday, I'm calling Tony to get that figured out. And then I'll come home. I'll make sure she has food. All right, make sure she has whatever she needs. And then I'm like, cool, I'm at my dad's. I got to go check on Lily. And then I'll be there. And then once that's done, I'll come back and I'll be like, cool, what do you want to do? Now we can hang out because I did my tasks, my jobs for today. if I was, doing what I was doing last summer, which was, okay, have fun at work. I love you. Bye. And then 4:30 comes. I'm waking up. That's when I was just like, okay, I'm really not here for this. But that's when Cassie finally was like, no, I have a problem with it now. At least be up by noon to do something that's productive for the relationship. So that's if you're basically asking me to do whatever.
Relative effort.
Relative effort. That's what it is. Relative effort. Bianca did not have relative effort. And I would never, ever let myself fall back into that again. The scars are real. And the third thing is that they're just gonna take all your emotion. Fourth thing? Yeah, the fourth thing.
Yeah, you're on 4.
Fourth red flag is this. If we are in a week of talking and I say, yeah, this bothered me today. And your reaction is, man the fuck up. Automatic. Thank you for your time. Contestant number 3, ladies and gentlemen. Send them on their way home with a whopping total of fuck you.
I honestly don't disagree with that one either. That's a good take.
That's a solid take.
Yeah.
Because here's what.
It's not. And let me cover this one for a half second.
Give me my number 5, Steve. I don't have a number 5.
I don't have a number 5 either. You fucking rattled these off like a champ, dude. We'll stick to 4.
Thank
But
you.
number 4 was solid. I think it becomes this thing where it's like, if there is an issue worth addressing, you address it. That doesn't mean you have to whine, complain about it. But it's just opening up this concept. Like, I used to do this with my roommate in Arizona. Like, the first thing I said to him, I'm like, dude, if we have issues, you let me know right off the fucking bat. Like, open that door now. So, like,
100%.
Because guess what? It builds this idea of comfortability where it's like, now you can come to me with anything, and I'm not going to be fucking abrasive or, like, I'm not going to be like, what the fuck?
Right.
It's more like, oh, dude, you keep leaving. The dish sink is, it's your dishes.
Right.
Oh, my bad. All right, I'll get that done.
Right.
Now he doesn't feel like afraid to have to fucking confront me about something that I'm slipping up on.
Right. That's a big thing.
It's not even I don't see it as whining. I'm like, oh, dude, he's just being constructive right now. Like, yeah, those are my dishes. They've been there for like a day. Like, they're gonna start getting gross. I better fucking clean them.
Right.
Or he has a girl coming over. Like, I better tidy up the house for him. Kind of thing. Like,
Exactly.
And he always did that. We kept the communication channels open.
Right. That's a huge thing with me right now, is the communication. I remember I had a phrase for many years with Charles, and Charles knows this by heart. There are 3 things you need for a successful relationship, and they are communication, communication, and communication.
That's true.
I know I've seen it. Like, look at my parents.
He's nailing it.
My parents broke up when I was 4 because they finally, for the first time in years, fully communicated what was going on. They had a 4-year-old at home, right? Both of them were focusing on their careers while also raising a child. And my dad was like, I need a stay-at-home wife to make sure my life is as streamlined as possible, right? And my mom was like, okay, well, that's not how this works. I don't find joy being at home, cleaning the house, so that way when you get home and you had all that trouble and stuff at work, that you can continuously... Well, there were other things, too, that I'm not going to get into. But that was basically what I got the gist of. The expectations of where my father was and my mother was. And they finally communicated that with each other, and they both went, fortunately, this wasn't going to work. Now, do I think their resolution to it was completely wrong? Yes. No one in their right mind should ever come to a 4-year-old and give them the question of a lifetime of which parent is going to raise you for the rest of your life. That's stupid, because you're going to pick the one that's the nicest. But they're only nice because they're the one. Because if you take 2 people, one of them's obviously going to be meaner than the other. That's just a fact. There's never gonna be, like, as a 4-year-old, you're never gonna look at and weigh the pros and cons and be like, well, dad has to go to work at this time, so that will get my sleep schedule really on this track, and mom has to go to work at this time, right? And dad's very punctual, and mom's very late. Blah 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 blah. You're not gonna weigh those pros and cons. You're gonna be like, huh? Well, mom gave me a fruit snack yesterday.
Yeah.
So I guess mom's the one raising me for the rest of my life. That was a dumb decision. But I applaud them for being able to be responsible and adults with it by saying, this is my expectations, this is where I go. That's how that should be. If you can't do that, if you cannot communicate properly, and I am bad at communicating properly, but I'm working on it. The other day, I finally brought it up to Cassie. I was like, Cassie, it's actually not what you're saying to me. It's how you're saying it, right? So when you say, Bub, do this, do this, do this, do this. What you mean is, Bub, here are these 3 things that we might want to look into. And that gives me the opportunity to say, okay, well, this is the one I want to look into first. But when you're like, do this, do this, do this, it's just a bullet point now. Now it's task 1, task 2, task 3. And if you do that enough times, they're going to be like, stop adding things to the fucking list. Right? She's not trying to add things to the list. But at the same time now, we're learning. It was beautiful. We had a beautiful moment yesterday. She loses everything when she's on the couch, right? And she'll be like, do you have this? And I'll be like, no, I do not have this. You were the last person to have it. Do you know where it is? And she'll be like, no. And then we'll all get up, we'll lift all the cushions, and we'll do everything. And we'll be like, there it was. But I will first be like, Bup, why you do this? Why? You have all the things and you lose all the things. Why you do this? But last night, for the first time ever, she was like, I was like, Bub, do you have the remote for the TV? She was like, no. And I was like, I don't have it. And then she was like, Bub, you were the last one to have the remote. And I looked at her, didn't react, didn't do anything. Just looked at her and went, you know this rage you feel inside of you for this one moment? That is my life. Every day when you lose things on this fucking couch. And she went, huh. She just looked up and went, yeah, I bet that is exactly how you feel. Sorry. I don't need her to fix it. I don't need her to like address it or anything, but I do need her to recognize it and empathize with it. And that's all that was. And guess what? We just laughed it off. It wasn't like, no, this is a problem. Like, it was just like, wow, this is hilarious. Right?
Yeah.
When Cassie was forgetting her wallet all the time when we would go out, right? Eventually I was like, okay, we need to talk about maybe me holding onto your wallets when we leave the house. And so now what do? I take everything with me. I wear cargo pants so I can move my phone, her wallet, my wallet, her keys, my keys, both of our vapes, right? And she has a backpack with a water bottle in it. That's the resolution there. It wasn't we weren't all like, oh no, why are you making me pay for everything? Nah, I was even fine with it. I was like, let me pay for everything. Because I know you're just going to Venmo me back for it. Like, I ain't got no money, you know that. But you don't have to Venmo me for half. Half. That's all it is. I went to Costco, spent $160. I ain't got no money to be spending $160. But I'll spend $80. I'll spend $80. And Cassie knows that. And that's all and she's not mad at it for this one reason. She knows I'm trying my best. She knows I'm putting it all out there. She knows I'm here like, listen, bub, I got $400. I got $400. I can give you $200. And she'll be like, don't worry about it. I got it. I got $400. You ain't got to worry about it. But like, no, I can pay half. She'll be like, I know you can pay half, but should you pay half? Like, that's the issue.
Now, quickly, let's backtrack just a little bit because I want to touch up on the partner thing.
Yeah.
I want to explain this position. Now, I got to ask the other single guy in this fucking room.
His experience matters.
Does a lot of bodies bother you? If a girl came up to you, she was like, oh, let's say 15.
I think 15 is... I feel like once it hits 10, I'm kind of like, what span is
The
this
flag
10?
is raised a little bit, right?
To me, it's like, what span is this 10 in, though? If this 10 is in, like, 2 years, I'm like, bruh, that's a lot.
I agree. I kind of agree.
But if it's like, oh, it's 10 since, like, 18 and you're, like, 26 now, it's like, I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah, 8 years, 1 a year kind of thing.
I think where the reason why I can't agree with you guys on this is because I watch hentai, right? And in hentai, you'll have the woman that's like, oh, I've only ever been with a couple men my entire life, blah, blah, blah. But here's my issue. If you have a high body count, I don't give a fuck. But if you did shit with them that you are not about to do with me, then that's where we have a problem.
So you're almost touching on something that I wanted to bring up. Like the problem with a girl having, and because I am not interested in guys. I'm sorry, not. But like
I know
for me,
I could be. That's why I step in.
Yeah. But for like if I knew a potential partner had a decent numbered body count,
yeah,
I'm already a textbook overthinker, right? And I start to wonder a lot of things. I go, that's one of them where you're like, okay,
what kind of things you were doing with these people?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then I go,
like, how freaky did you get?
Well, the first one was always like, was this all part of like this hookup idea? And if it is, that's already like I'm already not down. You know what I mean? I don't want to be another fucking body to add to your fucking count.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case.
Right.
But if it's beyond that, then I go, okay, how come you failed in 10? How come you failed 10? How come you failed 12, 15, 8? You know what I mean? Like, and guess what? When you enter any form of relation with anybody, usually there's some part of you that is taken or given.
Yeah.
Given and taken, right?
Given and taken, yeah.
And you have to, depending on how you were left in that relationship, usually when your body count gets higher, a lot of those are not probably healthy. I don't know anybody who's had 10 healthy relationships. That just doesn't sound realistic.
It's not possible. And here's what I think it really is. So with you, right, you don't have a very high body count, if I recall. Despite the many, he does not. I think your body count, if I may take a guess, is I think 5 right now.
It is a single digit number.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
It's a single digit number.
I think it was.
No, because
I have that effect.
he had.
I thought we ran off these numbers, and I thought it was like EG and then me, but Steve was ahead of EG. I must have got a switch.
No, I believe if we're going by which person in our friend group has the highest body count, right?
Yeah, I think I know now based on.
Right. I think you're right. Actually, I think Steve is at the top of that list.
Dude, that's wild.
You're at the top of that list.
Isn't Kathy at the top?
Oh, well, technically yes, but like even that, her body count's still, I believe, maybe I think it's still in the single digits. I think I might have been number 10. Like it was like I was the last straw, right? But like, so then I think it goes Cassie, but then Steve, because everyone else in our friend group is very much like, oh yeah, like, well, who would go?
I don't want to say like names, but I think it's Cassie, Egg, and then Steve.
Okay, well, I don't know much about what Egg was doing back in college.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, but like, here's the thing though. Everyone in our friend group, and this is why I originally brought up body counts. You have like a single digit body count, so you can see that and go, okay, one, sex is very important to you. If you're gonna have sex, because you don't need it, you ain't out here like, oh my god, the raw flowing juices of a female body. Like you're very much like, oh okay, well this is a very emotional thing for me to do with you. We're going to be naked in a room together, alone for whatever amount of time.
It's intimate, yeah.
It's very
an intimate thing.
It's a very intimate
it
thing.
does get to that point where
Right.
like, oh man, the rod. What you just said.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But at the same time, there's intimacy.
Right.
It's not just an action.
Exactly. And when you're not doing that, you are really working on building up the things that surround sex, right? Like communication, relationships, partnerships, yourself and their selves. Like
Compatibility,
all of those
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
That's what you are working on. You yourself, you're not dating right now, right? Are you?
Correct, sir.
Yes.
I'm not.
So right now, and I can tell you right now, I already know what you're doing. You're working on yourself.
Yeah.
You are elevating your value as you see your value. And that is what you are doing. So when you find someone, I get where you guys are coming from now. When you guys find someone that's very much like, yeah, I got this high body count, it means one of a few things. They're either really just bouncing around on whatever thing they can find. Same thing with men too. If you're a man and you have a body count in the triple digits, sure, you'll get a couple high fives or anything like that.
I don't know. Triple digits crazy, right?
That is.
I
kind
know.
I do know people who have triple. I do know that though. It's
Triple digits is like your sex addict.
No, but you are. You are.
it's a lust. It's a lust addiction.
Yeah. It isn't. You are a sex addict though, because you're not capable. If I took you, right, if you're a man in triple digits, and I took you and put you in, let's just say you're a straight man, and put you in a commune of a bunch of dudes, right? If you can't make it 1 year in that commune without going, ah man, that man over there is looking pretty feminine, right? That's you going, oh, I don't want to think about myself. Because when you're just with a bunch of bros, right? Inevitably, you're gonna, like, have you guys seen those videos of like emotionally woke bros? Where it's all like, this is like the broosity in this room makes this a safe space. Like that's what those videos are like. But like that's a thing because it's like if you are having sex all the time, what are you running from, my guy?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
what? Yeah,
like,
I understand that. I understand that rationale where it's like, what is incomplete about you that this action needs to be almost is addiction now.
Yeah.
Right. Where you're like, okay.
Like, what are you trying to, like, what
What are
does
you trying
sex
to achieve
fill inside of you?
Yeah. What's the achievement you're trying to fulfill?
Right, exactly. And the same thing with women.
I
If you
agree.
have a high body count, it means either you're really easily taken advantage of and you haven't learned your lesson, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
Right? Which is hard to
agree.
believe. like
I agree
like
with
don't if you came to me and I was like, yeah, I have a body
Took you
count.
20 to figure that
Right.
out?
If
Come
you're
on,
at 20 and then you come to me and you're like, men just take advantage of me and I just fall in love so easily. No.
Okay.
You ignore too many things about men and you don't hold yourself to a high enough value. You could have a body count of fucking 4 and fucking go, oh, these bitches just want to get in my pants. All right, then. I know.
Before you even have
I was
Right,
gonna say.
actually facts. You don't even need a body count to know when a man is just trying to get in your pants.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're just ignoring it, and you yourself are going, well, they treat me nice for they treat me nice for the 2-3 days that they're in my life. And you're just like, okay, so you're chasing that without looking for what keeps that rolling in with one person.
And let me clear up some confusion before we keep going. But I don't disagree. I think when a guy has a high body count too, I think flags definitely should be fucking raised.
100%.
I just think there's, especially in how it's viewed culturally, societally, it is less frowned upon for a guy to score more than a girl just get scored on.
Like I said, you're going to get your high fives and pat on the backs and everything. But at the end of the day, I see the fact that you are running. Like you are full sprint
100%.
down the lane trying to get away from whatever happened.
And that's the thing, though, is like, it goes back to that first thing I was talking about where it's like, guys are trying to raise their value and women are trying to preserve their value, right? And I think as you get ran through, that's a female, as you get ran through, your
As the
value
train comes in.
Your value diminishes. But as you start running through, as a guy, your value goes up to a certain point.
It does.
To a certain point. And
It
then
but it really
think
only
just
goes up with the bros.
Yeah,
you know what I
oh,
mean?
1,000,000%.
Like no
Million%.
women I've ever met has been like actually here's the thing. Every man I've met that has like a very high body count that isn't gay, right? Okay, I need that to be clear. That isn't gay.
You
When
said
they
to wrap
come,
up soon?
yeah.
Okay.
When they come up to a woman, right? I've known this one girl, right? And I can't remember her full name, but it was like Alice something, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was all like, yeah, he's just there for me and blah, 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 blah. I was like, man has a body count in like the 30s, in the 40s at this point, my guy. What are you doing? And he's like, well, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no. You are ignoring it. He's putting the moves on you and you're going, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Like this pissed me off when she told me about it. There's this good, strong, willing man to commit who was in her life and a fuck ass. Now she was gonna go to prom with this good, strong man. And then the fucking side piece was all like, all right, then I guess we're not talking to each other ever again because I see that you are committing and everything. Now, a smart woman would have gone, I'm glad you understand the move. I'm glad you understand the move. And had deleted the number right then and there. But she was like, oh, so you don't want me to go to prom with him. And then he was like, that is not what I am saying. That is not what I am saying. I was like, oh, okay. What he's saying is he wants to keep fucking. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to commit. What she heard was, oh, he wants me to leave the option open so that way we can maybe fall into this more naturally. I'm like, bitch, you've been right? I'm like, bitch, you've been talking to this man for about a month now. If you ain't in nothing naturally, then it ain't coming naturally. Bounce. That's those women, that only happened to her maybe 2-3 times before she acted. She was one of those dumber women that I know. That happened to her 2-3 times before she was like, okay, maybe. Like she came out the war. She was like, maybe I should take a break. Maybe I just lay here and talk to my girls. Right? And what happened to that man? That man bounced. And I'm sure that man is still plowing poon somewhere where nobody knows his face. because you could only do that so many times in your area code before you need to leave. That's a fact. That's a fact. The amount of people I don't even know that go, you know these people? I'm like, yeah, I know these people. Why? How do you know them? Oh, they go out all the time, right? Same thing with bitches. Men and female bitches. I swear to God, if you are bouncing from dick or poon to dick to poon, right? You eventually go, oh, fuck, what's a name I don't know? You know Charcandre? You know Charcandre? How do you know Charcandre? Oh, we met at the club the other day. And I would immediately go, oh, you that side piece he picked up. That side piece he picked up. Yeah, I haven't heard from him in a couple days. Oh, okay, so you got played. Moving on. And if you're a dude, I know Charcandre should have been a dude's name. But if you're a dude and I go, oh, you know lady friend over there? I'm so bad with names.
Names
you
into your creative side
you
there.
You know Mistakewa? Right? You know Mistakewa? Yeah, how do you know Mistakewa? Oh, man, Mistakewa was feeling me. Mistakewa was all up on me, man. I got to bring that home. I hit that. Oh, okay. Another tally for Mistakewa. That's what that is. You're eventually going to know. It's going to come off naturally. You're going to exude fuck boy or fuck girl energy. And when you exude that, right? Look at our friend over here. Man doesn't even have a double-digit body count. And he was on the fringes of fuckboy energy.
Bro, I knew this shit before this shit started.
Right.
That's why I didn't lose it hella early.
Right.
Because I was like, oh, I know.
Right. It was like you had a little
Great
gremlin.
power.
Right. It was like
Uncle Ben.
No, flat out. You had a gremlin inside of you just waiting to get wet. And you were like, fuck you. you were like, fuck you. You exuded fuckboy energy for, I think, a total of maybe 6 months, maybe a year, and then you went.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. But you weren't fucking during those 2 years, right? That's it.
It's worse, though, because at least you're fucking...
No, I think it's way, way better, because if you're not fucking, but you exude fuckboy energy, that just clarifying that, you're just fun. That's all that is. You're just fun. That's all that is.
Something, dude.
You're just fun. But if you're exuding
His
fuckboy
insight
energy,
is well today.
right. I don't have them always. I don't have good days.
He's been odd. He's been odd.
I do. I don't have a lot of them, but when I do, they're golden.
He's been
Right.
odd.
You're just fun. But if you're fucking, you're a predator.
A little bit.
That's what that is.
That's like the Kevin New Age.
Dude, this guy's been on today.
That's the
Fucking
facts.
throwing it
Those
out.
are the facts. So to be clear, I don't give a fuck if you have a high body count, right? And I'm gonna say this last story to get real personal here, Cassie. If you
Let
watch
me
this, I'm
summarize
sorry.
what he said though earlier.
Yeah, summarize real quick.
So with high body counts for guys,
Take me off my pedestal. I'm about to lose it.
For high body count for guys, it becomes this thing where after a certain point, it's no longer a value to objective, where it's just a value to guys. It's like lifting, same thing, where it's like once you get into lifting really seriously, girls don't give a fuck.
No, nope.
Dude, when you're like, dude, I just fucking PR'd today. Okay. But your homeboy is gonna be like, dude, you fucking killed that.
Right.
Oh my
I mean, like,
god.
reach new heights every day.
Yeah.
Fly like an angel.
Girls don't give a fuck about that shit.
That's a fact. All right. So if you have a high body count, most people, right? Most people, from the outside person who's not trying to get with you, they don't give a fuck.
Well, that's like, again, maybe that's just for most. Maybe that's
No, I think that's most people I know that are like
that don't give a fuck.
no, that do give a fuck.
Oh
They
yeah,
do give a fuck.
Yeah.
Right. Most people don't give a fuck, but only if they're not really trying to create anything. If you're trying to create a relationship
Yes.
and you have a high body count, you know what that is. That's going to be a hard conversation to have.
Later. Agreed.
100%.
Nailed it.
That's
Yeah.
100%. Like when I got with Cassie, right? I was coming in with a whopping total of 2, including her, right? And unless you count that one dude I gave a blowjob to in the back of his car, right? So maybe a whopping total of 2.5. 2.5. But here's what I got out of that, right? With my solid 2.5, when I sat down with Cassie, it was like, we need to talk about, body counts and past relationships, because she needs to know we got together in high school, so it was easier. I will say that it was much easier
For sure.
because
innocence was still on the table a little bit.
So you can't have that crazy little body count. Like if you do, that's kind of.
no.
Well, you were talked about in high
Listen.
school if you did.
Listen, no, you weren't. You really weren't.
Maybe not yours.
No, check it out. Well, actually, no. If you were a girl and you had a high body count, you were definitely talked about. If you were a dude and you had a high body count,
You were lying.
You were lying. Exactly.
I agree.
Exactly. So with me and Cassie, it was easier because we saw each other every single day. So if Cassie was with some fuck ass that she met hanging out with Josh or whatever, right? I heard about it the next day. She was like, "Yeah, I just got railed," right? Like. And it would be cool because in high school, when you're finally having sex is like this mysterious thing that it's forbidden, and the fact that you're partaking, it's the same reason why we drink in high school. Nobody gives a fuck. Look at us now. I can drink whenever the fuck I want. I only buy booze when I'm hanging out, and they're gone by the end of the day, and I go home and I'm like, cool, there you go. But like, it was easy for us because it was like, oh, okay, so I know about this one, and this one. Am I missing anyone? And she was like, you're missing this one and that one. And I was like, okay, cool. How was that? What was going on with that? Cool. But if she had like a body count that was like 20 or 30, then my 2.5 is like 10-minute conversation, right? I mean, it was Bianca, that dude, and then Cassie. And then it's going to be another fucking hour, 3 hours about, okay, well, this is what this guy did. And he wasn't really he was a real thing. We just fucked around and blah, blah, blah. No. If you're going to be fully naked with a person in a room alone, and it's just those two, right? One, let's not play that off. Let's not play that off as if it isn't something incredibly, really intimate. Motherfucker, that man could stab you right then and there. And then it would be, oh no. Right? It would be, oh no. Motherfucker. Because if that motherfucker's crazy, if the motherfucker you're naked in a room with alone is crazy, then this stops being, oh, this is just playing around to, oh shit. Right? Okay? So do not come to me and say, oh, that guy, he wasn't really anything. No, motherfucker. Take 10 seconds to realize the position you were in with that person for that time span, and then look me in the eye and tell me I mean more than that person. Because you got to prove that to me at that point. That's the big thing. If you have a high body count, it becomes exponentially harder to prove to the other person that they are more important than the fucking 30 that came before him.
Agreed.
Same thing with men.
Agreed.
If you're a man with a high body count, you gotta fucking sit down and prove that this woman means more than the other 30 that came before her. The only issue is, for some reason, men are better at lying about that shit. And there's nothing I can say about it because that's a fact. That's a fact. If a woman comes up to a man, if a fuckboy and a fuck girl meet up with each other, that's like a play date. Like they're gonna come up, they're gonna have fun. Chaperones are gonna show up, and they're gonna go home, and they're gonna be like, "I had so much fun. Oh my god." Maybe, and I say it's a play date because it's never on. You know, the two of them are never gonna be like, "Hey, we should hang out again sometime." It's gonna be like, "Hey, my friends are coming here. Where are your friends gonna be at tonight?"
These are facts.
Right? And then we meet up. Oh no, you were here? What? My girls are just trying to hang out in downtown Campbell, and now I'm like with you every single time. Every single time. Yeah, me and my girls are just down to have a night out, and I just ran into you out of nowhere. Can't believe that you've been hanging out here for the past 3 years. Right? Okay. So don't try to play that off, right? That's a play date. Now, if one of you is not a fuckboy or a fuck girl, then it's a game. Then it's a game.
That's true.
And that's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. As the one person here with the lowest, I should say, second lowest body count out of no, actually, Reese has a lower body count than me, right? Of course you do. You're single. You're single. If I had not met Cassie, this would be a completely different conversation we would be having. Right? I wouldn't even be allowed to talk on this shit, right? Y'all know who I was in high school. Y'all know who I was first 2 years of college.
You saw the ambition.
Yeah, you saw the drive. Yeah, you know. No, I don't even hide it. Straight up, that was weirdly, oddly enough, the fact that I was in a relationship and still like, hey, sexy people, boobies, yeah, woo, I love them. That was a selling point to people for some strange reason. People love that. They were like,
The honesty, dude.
right, because you can now talk to me about sex without ever worrying about me making a move, because I'm going to be like, yes, I love talking about sex, but also do not touch me. Do not come anywhere near me. I have a wife. And
I don't
that's how
like
that
your
is.
boobies. I just like boobies.
Right. Like, boobies are nice, and you have them. Great. Everybody rejoice. But at the end of the day, if you show me your boobies, man, you fucked up. Yeah. You fucked up. Now I gotta go home. I gotta tell my wife what happened.
It
And
automatically puts the ball in the other person's court.
because what the fuck?
No, that's it. That's the risk.
And I can say that because they ain't gonna score on me. That's why I can put the ball in your court. You ain't gonna score on me. You could come out as the Queen of England in her mid-20s, and I'd be like, "Nice to meet you, Your Majesty. Have you met my wife?"
Nice to meet you. And another shout out.
Right, and another shout. I will listen to me now. I will shout out Cassie's name from the top of Mount Everest if every single woman in the world would know I was taken. They don't even want me. They don't even want me. I'll do it though, because I want them to know they could never have me.
And that's what makes them watch you.
No, don't. And we're not gonna get into that. We're not getting into that shit because that's a fact. Tell me why. I straight up left Bianca, and not a woman wanted to talk to me. I had the scarlet letter on my shoulder, and I admit it. I had a reason for it, right? That dude I gave a blowjob to in the back seat, fucking tattooed it on my shoulder, and that was how it was. But then tell me why when Cassie got with me, all these women were like, "Oh, you know, so-and-so had the biggest thing for you. So-and-so had the biggest thing for you." They were just waiting. They were just waiting for you to regain that confidence back to talk to them and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, motherfucker, Cassie picked me up out the dirt. Cassie did not wait for me to have the confidence to come speak to her. Cassie said, "You're going through a lot of shit right now, aren't you?" And I was like, "You think?" And she was like, "This is the most bro move Cassie has ever pulled on me in my life." She went, "I got pizza and beer in my car. You got free period right now, right? Go wild, buddy." She went to class. I was just in her car, drinking a beer, eating pizza, going like, "Why is life gotta be this hard?" And then she was all like, "You feel better now, buddy?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Cool." And then my parents went out of town, and that was that. That's how that went.
On that
Shout out to Sharknado. On that note.
What an episode. Wow. We took that from being half dead, asleep, to like here. Wow.
Well, yeah, because again, this is like you guys said, I was on point today.
Dude,
Most of the time, I shout out shit and it fucking flops.
Dude, we're on a streak right now.
Because I'm only I have no stories to tell today. Just facts. Just facts. Listen to me, all right?
On that note, listen to him, guys. It's your boy Maui.
And your boy Waffles.
And this is
Couch
Couch
Surfing.
Surfing.
Peace.